Second-year cornerback Quinyon Mitchell is the key to the Philadelphia Eagles getting a win Thursday night against the Dallas Cowboys. I'll tell you why coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast.
You are Locked On Eagles, your daily Philadelphia Eagles podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you so much for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Welcome in, Eagles fans, to this Monday edition of the show. It's game week, and I'm your host, Louis DiBiase. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Hopefully that purchase is of Eagles tickets this Thursday night. The season opener takes place at Lincoln Financial Field against the Dallas Cowboys. Eagles fans all across the world, we have made it. It's game week, just a couple days until the 2025 season kicks off. The 2024 Super Bowl banner is going to be raised. The Lombardi Trophy, I'm sure, will be raised pregame by Jeffrey Lurie. If they can beat their all-time greatest rival to open up the season, what better way to kick off a Philadelphia Eagles season than that, right? I mean, I cannot wait for this football game. The Eagles looking pretty much at full health heading into this matchup on Thursday night. Landon Dickerson didn't practice today, but I still think it's more likely than not that he plays on Thursday. A.J. Brown looks like he's probably good to go. It sounds like Adoree Jackson's going to be the starting corner opposite Quinyon Mitchell on the outside. So everything's starting to come together, although the coaches wouldn't say today who's starting at corner, who's starting at safety. We know that Adoree Jackson was working with the first team today. We know that Andrew Makuba just coming back from injury. I think it's likely on Thursday, although Makuba should be the starter, that Sidney Brown probably starts things off. So everything's starting to come together before the season, and you're starting to figure out like what the matchups are going to be, who the starters are on both sides of the ball. But one guy that's been consistent all summer, and he was consistent his entire rookie year, that to me is the key to this matchup, to getting a win on Thursday and not letting the Dallas Cowboys upset you to kick off the season. Quinyon Mitchell, I think, is the most important player against the Dallas Cowboys this week. Why? Because when you look at the Dallas Cowboys, and honestly, when you look at their roster, it's not great. Without Micah Parsons, their defense is pretty brutal. I mean, they give up a lot of points on the ground. They give up a lot of yards through the air. Micah Parsons is no longer a Dallas Cowboy. Trayvon Diggs is probably their best player on defense now. He's banged up. If he does play, which is up in the air, he's not going to be 100%. Bland just signed that crazy $100 million contract, but I'm being facetious with that. But, I mean, he's a turnover guy. Like, he can get interceptions, but Devontae Smith, A.J. Brown, they've had their way with him in years past. The defensive line, like, who's rushing the passer? Who's on that second line? They don't have a Zach Bond or a Jahad Campbell at the linebacker position. So I feel like that roster is not looking great on paper. It might be the worst on paper in the entire NFC East. The offensive line of the Dallas Cowboys isn't the classic 2016 juggernaut of a unit where you've got Travis Frederick there and Zach Martin and Tyron Smith. Like, they don't have that offensive line anymore either. The one strength of this football team is their passing offense. It's Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb. And now you traded for George Pickens in the offseason. Like, that's going to be how the Dallas Cowboys win football games this year, is by airing it out. It feels like they're going to have to score 25 to 30 points a game for them to really keep up. So when you look at that one strength, I think that Dallas has, personally, looking at their team on paper, of course, who knows what happens. I think Quinyon Mitchell is the key, because if you stop CeeDee Lamb, then you win that game easily. Like, I think the Eagles offense is going to have an opportunity to put up crazy points, crazy yardage. Outside of shooting yourselves in the foot, on the offensive side of the football, the only way Dallas wins this game is if they put up 30 plus and CeeDee Lamb is just absolutely cooking Adoree Jackson. If George Pickens is making crazy circus catches along the sidelines, down the field vertically. I think Pickens was like the perfect second receiver to add for the strengths of Dak Prescott. And I'm a little bit concerned about Adoree Jackson as the starter against CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens. I feel like Dallas is going to pick on him, with no pun intended there. I think they are going to pick on Adoree Jackson because he is the weak link of that secondary. So Quinyon is so important because if I'm the Eagles, I look at this matchup and say, Dallas is probably just going to keep CeeDee Lamb on Adoree Jackson's side. We have to have Quinyon shadowing Lamb. And while, yes, they finally do have a legitimate number 2 opposite Lamb, so there's going to be guys that are threats on both sides of the field, I just think that Quinyon, and I know they're not going to play man coverage every single play. Fangio's defense is predominantly zone, but he did say this summer that in certain matchups, they would use Mitchell more shadowing, following a top receiver for an offense. He said if the matchup dictates it, like they will do that more. Quinyon Mitchell played both right corner this year on the outside in training camp, and he was playing on the left side, whereas last year, he was the majority of the time on, if you're a quarterback, Quinyon was on the left, and he was on the left the entire season because Fangio's defense last year, corners weren't moving because you had Darius Slay, you had Quinyon Mitchell, you had Cooper DeJean. There was no need to move guys around. But Adoree Jackson, in my opinion, is not Darius Slay. I don't think still personally do not believe he's better than Keely Ringo or Jacorian Bennett. I don't think it was the right call starting him week 1. So if I'm the Eagles, if I'm Fangio, what I would do, Quinyon should be on number 88 the entire game. That's the only way that you lose this football game is that Prescott-Lamb connection. So if you have Quinyon shadowing CeeDee Lamb, then Cooper DeJean, Adoree Jackson, they can just focus on George Pickens. Now, Lamb does play a lot in the slot, and you do have DeJean, so you don't necessarily need to move Mitchell when DeJean's on Lamb. But again, the scary part about this game is if Dallas is smart enough to just say, the Eagles are not moving Mitchell or DeJean, let's just keep CeeDee Lamb on the right side. Let's keep him going up against Adoree Jackson. Like the Eagles cannot allow that to happen. And maybe early on in this matchup, they just kind of feel it out and see what Dallas is going to do, how they're going to use CeeDee Lamb. Pre-snap motion, are they going to use him on the outside, on the left, on the right? Are they going to put him in the slot? And then maybe adjust accordingly if he is cooking Adoree Jackson, see how Jackson's holding up, see if Lamb truly is just staying on that one side of the football field. But I wouldn't even let it get to that. I think Quinyon Mitchell, from the jump, should be saying, my only job tonight is to stop number 88. I think he has proven his entire rookie year. You look at the strong summer he had, some of the practice reps that we were able to see on video of Q going up against Devontae Smith one-on-one. Devontae is such an elite route runner like CeeDee Lamb, and Q was able to shadow him, it felt like all summer. Obviously, Smith made plays, but Mitchell was one of the best, most consistent players in Eagles training camp on both sides of the football. So I think he's ready for that assignment. I think he's ready for this role in year 2 in 2025, and I think it's the only way that the Cowboys beat you is by air raiding the hell out of you, putting up 30-plus points, and beating you potentially in a shootout. And I know offenses are rusty to start the year, week 1, but the Cowboys are talented in that one area. Like, that's their one thing that you should be a little bit concerned about with them if you're the opposing defense. Like, they have weapons. They have not just CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, but Jake Ferguson, I think, is a very underrated tight end. They have Turpin, too, who has some legitimate speed. So I think that's the one area. Like, if you stop Dallas's passing attack, then you're golden. And so I don't want to see CeeDee Lamb beat them. Obviously, Lamb is a top 5 receiver in football. He's going to get his. Quinyon's not going to hold receivers every single week to 0 or 1 reception like you did Terry McLaurin last year on Thursday Night Football. But I would at least give him the opportunity to take Lamb out of this football game. So we'll see what happens. I don't know if that's going to happen the entire game, but we know that Dak Prescott has success against the Eagles historically against this defense. We know that Adoree Jackson is a weak link, at least so far. We'll see what happens in the regular season, but I believe right now he's a weak link that they didn't have on defense last year in the secondary. We know the Cowboys are going to take vertical shots. They're going to have to throw the football. The Eagles have a very good run defense. They have Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders as their starting running backs. I just think Quinyon is the most important part of this matchup on Thursday Night Football. Let him do what he does. Put CeeDee Lamb on Guantanamo Bay. All right, guys, coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast, I want to flip sides of the field and talk about while, yes, the Dallas Cowboys passing attack may be able to exploit Adoree Jackson if Quinyon Mitchell is not shadowing these star receivers on the Cowboys offense. The Eagles offense, there is no excuse for them not to put up big-time points through the air and on the ground. I'll tell you why coming up next right here on the Locked On Eagles podcast. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are brought to you by Game Time. The NFL season is back, and honestly, there's nothing better than being in the stadium surrounded by fans. Week 1, to open the entire NFL season, the Eagles are going to drop the Super Bowl banner. Get there, get to the link, cheer on your team. Let's be honest, getting tickets, though, it can be a hassle between queues, login screens, and price jumping at checkout. It's frustrating. That's why I use Game Time, the app that gives the advantage back to fans. Game Time is fast, easy, and backed by the Game Time guarantee. You'll always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Plus, all fees are included, so the price you see is the price you pay. And the seat that you see on the app, it's the perfect view. You know that you're not going to get tricked before buying your tickets. I love their zone deals too. You can pick the section. Game Time picks the seats, and you save big. So many features. Download the Game Time app today. Create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNFL. You're going to get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket. Go download the Game Time app today. And guys, today's show, we are also sponsored by America's #1 sportsbook. It's FanDuel. I'm going hard on FanDuel this NFL season, and it's right around the corner. FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets. That's right, $300 to use in bonus bets across the app. I love using FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. Player props, building a same-game parlay, even jumping in live as the action's unfolding. If you do see Eagles Cowboys is kind of a shootout on Thursday night, maybe bet the over. It makes every game more exciting, whether you're watching your team or just keeping an eye on your fantasy lineup. It's quick, easy, and the best way to add a little more energy to Sundays. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. Guys, we do have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We've put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcast even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't, and answer questions about our advertising. Go to LockedOnPodcast.com/survey to get started. Everybody who completes a survey will be entered for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Amazon gift cards. Again, that's LockedOnPodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. Thank you so much for helping us out. Eagles Cowboys this Thursday night to kick off the NFL season. Again, I think Quinyon Mitchell is like the big key in this game, because if you can have Q take out CeeDee Lamb, I know they have George Pickens. I would be just as concerned about George Pickens going up against Adoree Jackson as, I mean, he's not a better player than CeeDee Lamb, but Pickens, the style of player he is, a taller, contested catch guy that can make plays deep. I am a little bit worried about him just big bodying, just out-muscling Adoree Jackson at the catch point. So I'd be nervous about that too, but CeeDee Lamb is a top 5 player in the entire league at his position. He's the best player on his football team. You can't let him beat you. So if Q takes him out, or at least limits him, I don't see how else the Cowboys are winning this football game, because when you flip sides of the field and you look at the Eagles' offense going up against Dallas's defense, unless the Eagles just come out so rusty, they look like the September 2024 Philadelphia Eagles that are turning the football over. If Kevin Patullo just seems, I don't know, lost as a play caller, unless they, again, just completely implode and have all these self-induced mistakes, who on the Dallas defense is stopping the most talented offense in the entire NFL that features Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jahan Dotson, an elite offensive line? Like, how is Dallas stopping that with a banged-up Trayvon Diggs, a secondary that's not very talented, and it's pretty banged up at corner and at safety? You don't have your best player, an elite player. You just traded away from the defensive line and Micah Parsons. Like, I just don't understand how the Eagles, just unless they are just so self-inducing, mistake-prone football on Thursday, how are they not putting up at least 30 points? And when you look at Dallas's defense, it got worse than it was in 2024. And statistically in 2024, like, their defense was brutal. I mean, listen to here. Let me pull up some of these stats for you. So the Dallas Cowboys in 2024, listen to this. Dallas allowed a touchdown on 27.6% of opponent possessions. That was 31st in the NFL. Dallas had a 29% lower red zone touchdown rate compared to their opponents in 2024. That was the worst differential in the league. So they allow a lot of points. They allow big-time yardage, conversions on third down. They can't stop anybody in the red zone. Part of that is because they're so bad in run defense. Last year, they were the 29th overall ranked defense against the run, and that's part of how crazy Jerry Jones, justified the Micah Parsons trade, saying we had to get better against the run, which I guess in a vacuum is true, but you add Kenny Clark, who's an older, aging player that had the worst year of his career in Green Bay in 2024. Like, outside of Kenny Clark, I mean, who else are you really, you're not scared of Kenny Clark, but he's the one notable player that you're watching on the defensive line. How are they stopping Saquon Barkley in the run offense? That's the thing. I think the Eagles are going to be able to do whatever they want on Thursday. If it's up to them, if they play mistake-free football, I think they have mismatches in the secondary. Trayvon Diggs is not going to be 100%. Deron Bland, I think he's a very good player for what he does best. He gets a lot of interceptions. What did he have a couple years ago? 6, 7 pick sixes. I mean, and he just got a big extension. He does have some talent, and you got to be worried, or you got to be watching that, because they're an opportunistic secondary that plays a lot of man coverage. They play close to the line of scrimmage. They go for the ball. But because of that mentality, Bland and Diggs get beat a lot. Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown have beaten them a lot. So I think you can take advantage of, I would love to see some sluggo routes, some double moves, some misdirection. I think what you should do, because you're going to have success on the ground, get Saquon Barkley going early. And then in the second half, RPO, play action the hell out of those guys. Take some shots down the field. I just think this is going to be a really big game for the offense. I don't think the offense is going to start off slow like they did to start off 2024. Although even in that Green Bay game, they turned the ball over and had a lot of mistakes, but they still put up a lot of production against the Packers defense. I think you're going to see something similar where they put up, I don't know, at least, I would take the over on, what's their 0.4 total right now? I think they're at least scoring 30. I'm not sure what FanDuel is at right now currently, but the only concern really about the Eagles offense is how banged up is Landon Dickerson, and he didn't practice today. I think they're trying to get him ready for this game on Thursday night. He's not going to be 100% in this game, but if he plays, I think they're going to be fine. And even if he doesn't play, you still have everybody else healthy. A.J. Brown's going to be a go. Devontae Smith is going to be a go. Jalen and Saquon are healthy. You've got your tackles. And again, it's just the Cowboys just don't, I don't know what they have. So let me take a look here. The over-under is at 47.5 for this game total. I'm probably taking the over on that. If you want some FanDuel advice from me for this game on Thursday Night Football, take the over on 47.5. I think the Eagles are going to score at least 30, in my opinion. There's really, again, there's no excuse, and I don't want to put this kind of pressure on the season or on this game right off the bat, the first show of game week. But when you think about how crucial, how much of a mismatch, an advantage you have against this Cowboys team on paper, when you look at the importance of starting fast in the NFL, getting a division win to start the season, when you look at your next up-and-coming opponents, I mean, you have to go to Kansas City against a Chiefs team that's going to want blood. They're going to be seeing red, trying to get revenge on you for what you did to them in Super Bowl 59 in just a week. I don't want to say it's a must-win game, but it kind of feels like it. You don't want to be 0-1, losing to the Dallas Cowboys to spoil your Super Bowl celebration, and then you're staring at the Chiefs and 0-2. And again, I don't want to get into this negative. I'm sure people are already rolling their eyes at me, but it's an important game. Week 1 is so crucial. People always say, yeah, week 1, you're still figuring out who you are. You're rusty, you're finding yourself. But the Eagles have never lost week 1 in the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni era, and it's been such an advantage for them to stack wins early on. I think every time the Eagles have made deep playoff runs, they've had fast starts to the season. They've done that every year since 2022, and even in 2021, they won that first game against Atlanta. Starting things off quick, getting to 1-0, it looks so much better than 0-1, because there is a lot of, when you get to 0-2, now suddenly things just, I mean, remember in 2020, how quick that season just went down the tubes. You're up, 17-0 against Washington in the first half of that game. Carson Wentz, for a second there, looked like 2017 Carson Wentz, and then they collapsed, and then you lose your first two games and tie the second game, and then it already almost felt like the season was over. So this is a big-time opportunity for the Eagles to get off on the right foot, beat your division rival without their best player they just traded away. You have such an advantage in pretty much every area as long as the secondary can hold up against CeeDee Lamb and Adoree Jackson. I'm expecting big things on Thursday. I think it's going to be a feel-good game where I think the Eagles are going to win convincingly. Like, I know I just kind of laid out the nightmare scenario just to prepare and talk about the importance of winning, but I don't believe they're going to lose this game. I think this is going to be one of those like convincing double-digit wins, double-digit point wins. That's what I'm predicting on Thursday night. All right, guys, we'll wrap up this Monday edition of Locked On Eagles. Coming up next, compared to the past week one opponents of Philadelphia in the Hurts Sirianni era, like let's say even going back to 2020, the last 5 teams, how good is Dallas? How tough of a first matchup is this compared to the past 5 seasons? We'll get into that as we wrap up this Monday edition of Locked On Eagles coming up next. Today's episode of the Locked On Eagles podcast, we are brought to you by Monarch Money. Monarch Money has helped me save a lot of cash and build my wealth. Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there's Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you, so you don't have to. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear data visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. Don't let financial opportunity slip through the cracks. Use our promo code today, LOCKEDONNFL, at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. It's a huge advantage. I linked all my accounts to Monarch and immediately spotted a few subscriptions I wasn't using. They caught those, canceled, and saved a ton of money month after month. Monarch makes it simple to review your finances with your partner as well. You can both see budgets, goals, and spending. So use our promo code LOCKEDONNFL for 50% off at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONNFL. And guys, today's show, we are also sponsored by Yahoo Fantasy Football. The NFL season is right around the corner. This Thursday, you can feel the buzz. Fantasy football season is here. Everyone's researching, drafting, and building their championship squads. If you haven't joined a league yet, now's the time, and it's all happening on Yahoo Fantasy. This year, I'm playing Yahoo Fantasy Football. You should too, whether you're a first-timer or a veteran creating your millionth league. With the season kickoff on September 4th this Thursday, now's the time to start playing. And if you want more ways to play, you can do head-to-heads. Like they have private leagues on Yahoo, public leagues as well. But you can also do some specialty leagues like the Guillotine League mode, where the lowest scoring team gets eliminated every single week until one team is left standing. No crew, no problem. Like I said, there's public leagues available, the easiest way to play. The NFL season kicks off this Thursday, so don't wait. Start your league now. Draft now at yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. That's yahoofantasy.com/LockedOnNFL. Thanks as always for making Locked On Eagles your first listen each and every day. We are wrapping up this Monday edition, the first game week of the 2025 season. Make sure you subscribe to Locked On Eagles on all podcast platforms. 5 shows a week from myself riding solo, our 2 live squad shows for an hour each, Tuesdays and Thursdays, the postcast show after the game, YouTube Shorts. We're posting so much stuff on X and our YouTube community page. So again, check it out on all audio platforms and on YouTube as well. The Eagles are taking on the Cowboys Thursday, and although I was kind of expecting the NFL to go with a playoff rematch of like Eagles Commanders to start the year or Eagles Rams, which was maybe if not the game of the year, one of the most intense football games that at least I've watched in my entire lifetime. So I just felt like the Cowboys, rivalry game to start the year was kind of low-hanging fruit. But I won't complain. I think it's an easier matchup. Like I said, if Quinyon Mitchell and Cooper DeJean and Adoree Jackson can stop or limit CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, unless you're turning the ball over on offense, starting slow, not scoring points in the first quarter, unless you're beating yourself, I'm sorry. I don't know how Dallas wins without putting up 30 plus through the air. So I'm feeling good about the matchup. When you look at like how good the Cowboys are compared to past week 1 teams, I think the Eagles I mean, it's around the same as what they've normally gotten. So over the last 5 seasons, again, in the Jalen Hurts, Nick Sirianni era, 4 week ones, they've never lost. Like, they have started 1-0, knock on wood, but so far, every single year. Then if you include 2020, the last 5 week ones, they played the Washington football team at the time. In 2020, they played the 2021 Atlanta Falcons. They played the 2022 Detroit Lions. In week 1, they were in Foxborough against the Patriots in 2023, which was a weird way to start the season. And then last year in Brazil against the Green Bay Packers. How good is this Cowboys team? Like, how much of a challenge is this to start the season compared to the past 5 years? I would say this Dallas team, again, they're not very good. I think them being the Cowboys, them having CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott, I think fluffs it up more than actually how bad the situation kind of is over there, at least in my opinion, on paper. I don't think they're great. I think they're better than like the 2020 Washington team that the Eagles lost to that year, but with Dwayne Haskins, like that team was not very good. I think they're better than that 2021 Falcons team that the end of the Matt Ryan era, just they had nothing left. We're not a playoff football team. Jalen Hurts' first start, easy win. I think Dallas is better than those two teams, and I would say they're better than the 2023 Patriots, but I think they're certainly worse than last year's Green Bay Packers. Last year's 24 Packers were an 11-win football team that went 1-5 in the division, and they were banged up, and yet they still won 11 games. Like, that was a good football team that now I think is a really good football team on paper. I would say they're close to that 2022 Detroit Lions team that was right about to take off and become an NFC juggernaut. 2023 is the year they took off. They made it to the NFC Championship. Then last year they had the number 1 seed in the NFC and had a bye week. In 2022, Detroit, they still weren't a great team, but they were building the talent. Like, they were starting to build that offense. They had Ben Johnson really cooking. Jared Goff was getting comfortable. They ended the 2022 season pretty hot, so they started to figure out how to win football games. And that was a tough game. If you remember A.J. Brown's debut, that was a down-to-the-wire football game. Like, it was really close. DeAndre Swift, actually, for Detroit, had a huge touchdown, a huge run to start the game. So I would say Dallas is kind of around that 2022 Detroit Lions tier where they can throw the football, they have weapons, and that's kind of it. Like, their defense is pretty inconsistent. They didn't have a lot of guys in their front seven, had some solid secondary players, kind of opportunistic. They play an aggressive style like Dan Campbell's Lions did at the time. I don't think they're a playoff team, but Dallas will probably cover a lot this year because of Dak. They'll probably still win, I think, 6 to 7 games. I don't think the Cowboys are like a New Orleans Saints level of football team. When you have a quarterback like Dak, who's pretty solid, I'd say he's top 10, top 12 in the league, you're always going to be competitive. But I think they're not better than last year's Packers, so they've got it easier than last year. I would say they're better than a lot of the teams that they played, though, in the past. They're better than the Commanders, the Falcons of 21, better than the 2023 Patriots, around like that 2022 Lions tier. So I think you made out pretty well with this first game. Again, they could have picked for the Eagles week 1. They could have picked, the Chiefs. They could have did the Super Bowl rematch, which thank God they didn't. I would have hated that to start the year. They could have did Washington, the rematch of the NFC Championship. They actually could have did any of the playoff games from last year. It could have been against, they weren't going to make them go to Lambeau week 1, but as the champs. But they have the Packers in their schedule. They could have played the Rams. They're coming to Philly again this year. They could have played Kansas City. They could have played Washington. I'll take this matchup. I think raising the Lombardi Trophy, raising the banner, and then destroying Dallas, if it happens, the same week, within a week of them trading away Micah Parsons in one of the worst trades, in my opinion, in the history of the NFL, or the most illogical trades in the history of this league. A loss to Dallas would be nightmare fuel. Like, if they lost to this football team after the Cowboys got embarrassed all week, that would be a long week. But the best case scenario of this week is just it would feel so good. And that's why I'll sign up for this. I'm kind of glad it is Dallas on Thursday night. But we still have 3 more shows for you to preview this matchup. Got another solo podcast for you tomorrow and Wednesday. We've got crossover Thursday with Marcus Mosher of Locked On Cowboys. We'll have a recap show right after the game live on YouTube on Thursday night for our Friday show. So make sure, again, you're subscribing to Locked On Eagles on all platforms. And thanks again for making us your first listen each and every day. Until tomorrow, thanks so much for downloading, watching, and listening, and let's go Birds. Fly, Eagles, fly.